Welcome to the Next Level Guy Show podcast. I'm Ian, and this is where men rebuild discipline, confidence, and take control of their lives. No hype, no excuses, just real conversations and practical tools. Let's get into today's episode. You don't have a discipline problem. You're just trying to follow someone else's plan. Meet Alex VanHouten, an exercise scientist and a coach who's helping high performers cut through the noise and actually make progress that sticks. His personal journey of living with a painful genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos, but still achieving his dreams, taught him the discipline of 1% better daily. It gave him a passion to help others do the same in their own lives. Coach Alex completed his undergraduate degree at Vanderbilt University in 2010, where he focused on chemistry and psychology. In the years since, he's earned certifications in personal training, corrective exercise, performance enhancement, and behaviour change through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He's written multiple peer-reviewed articles for the International Sports Science Association and has published over 500 five-star podcast episodes. He's catching up on me. He's a certified nutritionist and a health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and has been a professional coach and personal trainer since 2005. He works with everyone from everyday men to elite operators, showing them how to train, eat, and live in a way that actually fits their life. This episode will help you feel less overwhelmed and finally understand why nothing seems to stick, even when you know what to do. It will help you release the pressure to follow perfect plans and instead focus on what actually works for you. You'll feel more in control and more grounded with a clearer sense of where to start without needing to overhaul your entire life overnight. Most importantly, you'll feel less alone in the struggle, and realise that real progress doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing the right things consistently and with the right support. And now, let's get to the interview. Thank you so much for coming on. It's an honour to feature you. I've been listening, like we're just discussing, to some of your episodes, and I know that you work with some amazing people, but for people who don't recognise you, could you give a quick introduction on yourself, but also how you'd like people to know you as?
Yeah, so on a professional level, I would say that, hi, what's up? I'm Coach Alex VanHouten. I'm an exercise scientist and faith-based health coach, and I get to help people make the most out of the body God's given them. And I do that in a number of ways with exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle coaching. And on the more personal side, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I live in the Midwest here in the U.S., in Greenbrier, Arkansas. We have chickens, and I work out regularly, and we have a great time just doing life in a positive and powerful way. And I love helping people do the same on their journey.
I mean, I'm working in a government role just now, working with a police force, etc. What do you think people get wrong about elite performance? You know, because you've trained with some amazing people, you train to an elite standard. But what's the difference between elite performance and just going to the gym, do you think?
You know, there's a number of differences. I would say one of the primary differences is that when we look at elite performance, and this is operators, these are individuals who are working at the state and local level for mission-based work, but you could also say elite performance has to do with high-level athleticism. And then I work with elite performers who you wouldn't consider, you know, like Navy SEALs or everyday spies. We're talking moms and dads or CEOs of companies who understand that their body and their mind need to be in good health in order to operate at their best level. The major difference between elite performers and the general population working out is that elite performers understand that there's a very specific way they need to feed themselves, a very specific way they need to move themselves, and that specificity is different than maybe the person that they're married to, or maybe the person that's working out next to them at the gym, or maybe the person that's their coworker. And so elite performers are not swayed by the fads of the health and fitness industry, the latest thing that tells you should take this supplement, or the latest thing that tells you should do high intensity exercise versus weight training or whatever. They understand, how to take care of themselves as individuals. And that's what an elite performer knows, that's different from the average person. And in the science, we call that bio-individuality. Your DNA and my DNA are different. Your microbiome and my microbiome are different. So some of the things that I need to do to get the most out of myself might be different from some of the things that you need to do in order to get the most out of yourself. And scientifically speaking, we understand those things. It's a lot harder in practice, though, to understand how to take care of yourself on an individual level, but it's worth doing.
And do you think that's what a lot of people miss? You know, that we pick up like the Men's Health, the Maxim, FHM, whichever magazine it is, and it's the cookie cutter approach, and we think, yep, we'll do the same as the big guy at the gym, not understanding the different cycles, the different food supplements, and etc. he's on. Is that what we miss? Is that individuality? We kind of fall back on, well, everybody's doing it, it must be right.
It's definitely a huge part of it, right? So there's a huge piece of, let's say you did everything perfect, whatever that means. You ate perfectly, you exercised perfectly for your body, and you got the most out of you. And you looked at what you were doing versus another elite operator getting their perfect program, their perfect amount of sleep, their perfect nutrition, right? They would look different because perfect for you looks different from perfect for them. But that's not actually where most people are missing it. Where most people are missing it is many people know what they need to be doing for themselves, but they're just not doing it. One of the largest longitudinal studies of weight loss, for example, because there's a lot of people in health and fitness who try to do something healthy or do something fitness-based to lose weight, right? The biggest longitudinal study looked at, okay, let's say there's all this stuff in the world. What exercise works? What nutrition works? What's actually working for people? And what was crazy is the science found, and we're talking a study over 80,000 participants in a span of 5+ years losing weight. The actual variables that matter had nothing to do with the diet that was espoused and nothing to do with the exercise that was espoused. It was actually whether or not the individuals had access to a professional that they trusted to ask questions. That was the first most important variable. Do I have access to a professional that I trust to ask questions along this journey? That would have something to do with that personalization piece. And then the second is, do I have access to a community who's also working on the same goals I am? And those were the two variables. It wasn't whether you followed the keto diet. It wasn't whether you lifted weights or not. It wasn't whether you did cardio or not. It was, do I have the social cohesive support that both allows me to move forward when I have questions and also keeps me accountable when I really don't feel like doing what I want to do. And that was the rub. And so I think we miss it on both of those fronts. We miss it on the bio-individuality of somebody, but we also miss it on the, we think we're going to do this all by ourselves thing, when at the end of the day, what actually works, and we know this to be true, what actually works is the human connection, both with a professional and the social aspect.
And is that the sort of the unsexy part of elite performance, do you think? It's that moment of, we see the SEALs and all these sort of people going out and doing these heroic things, but we don't see them working side by side, drilling, repping, fixing their unique skill set, and then they fall back on that brotherhood together, but also they are individually focused on their own skills and weaknesses.
That's exactly right. You see the high level operator doing something amazing. We just saw the Olympics, right? You see the high level operator doing something amazing. What you don't see, unless somebody points your attention to it, is the whole team they have that is telling them what to eat, how to exercise, how to overcome injuries, right? You have a professional team telling you what to do. You also have other athletes that are regularly training with you that you're connected to, right? You also, for many of those athletes, they will get on the podium and thank their mom and dad, and thank their brother and their sister, and thank their uncle who taught them how to weightlift, or whoever it was that inspired them to continue doing this thing that they are both dedicated to and committed to moving forward on. And so yes, that's definitely the unsexy part of health and fitness. People have a lone wolf mentality a lot of times, culturally speaking, that if I could just figure out the best program, I'd be fine. And the reality is we're not that great individually. There are a lot of people I've met with amazing willpower, but we're not that great individually at guiding ourselves, and we're not that great individually at inspiring ourselves. That requires other people.
Now, one of the big things we've noticed with a certain president and things like that is this whole fake news and the sources and anything that disagrees with your viewpoint, or people doing their own research and they do a .com search rather than research papers and speak to experts, etc. What have you noticed in nowadays with the mental side of this, of like finding the correct research, the building the correct network of coaches, scientists, supplement ranges, companies, for people who are not working in a role where they have the tools and equipment supplied? How can they find this in their own and know and gauge the suitability of a source and know what works for them and what's sort of more hot air or bro science, I think is the term a lot of kids nowadays use?
Right. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. And it's for this reason that a lot of times when I work with somebody through Everyday Spy, we have a whole Spy Fit brand where people will do challenges, they'll do individual coaching. And I just got off the phone with a lady this morning who, crying, said, "I'm so glad I found you. I've been looking for you for a decade." Right? So it's a very emotional experience when you learn that all the things you've been trying were not the answer for you, and you find somebody who can help you put the pieces together for you. And I'm not going to pretend that that's an easy thing. It's very difficult in our world today. There's a lot of signal noise, is what we call it in the intelligence world. A lot of signal noise in social media, a lot of signal noise on the internet. We can do it right now as a fun thought experiment. How many calories should I be eating? Good luck. You're gonna
9 million odd pages.
Yeah. And you're actually more confused than before you asked the question, right? But if you have somebody who you can ask as a professional, how many calories should I be eating? And my professional answer to that, if you were to ask, is what I want to do first is understand what you're currently eating and how that's infecting you. So I want about a week worth of food journals to work with. And then what you and I are going to do is evaluate what your body looks like right now, any health history issues you've had in the past, and we're going to separate our understanding of food from just calories to calories, which are energy, and nutrients that your body needs. And then we're going to start incorporating nutrient-dense foods and getting smart about our calorie intake and see how our body responds over this week. And so the answer...
So for somebody who thinks, oh, I just need to eat better, and a lot of people simplify diet, nutrition, but they don't look at the microbiomes, the nutrients, the fungi, their blood cholesterol levels, all the sort of tests that you would want somebody to be taking at this level. What are the tests that we should take? And what are the ones that would be nice to know before you start on such a sort of venture?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. Well, today we have some very, very amazing testing capability that we didn't have even just a decade ago, right? So you have tests of the current condition of your body. That would be things like blood tests, your blood glucose, your total cholesterol, your high density lipoproteins, like the stuff that your primary care physician probably asks you to do every year, right? And those are a good high level understanding of how things are operating. But it's not the full picture. And there's a lot of other things you can do that are more differentiated, things like hormone testing or even your microbiome. There are entire companies right now that will take a sample of your feces via mail and tell you what your microbiome spectrum looks like. So that's the environment of your body. This is what's actually occurring right now. And that can be useful and helpful. It could also be a lot of data, very overwhelming, right? And then there's also, and this is something we, like I said, in the last decade have been able to do. There's also your genome. This is the unique configuration of your DNA. And some of the things that that are working for you from a health and fitness perspective, and some of the things that might be working against you from a health and fitness perspective. And in my work, when somebody starts asking me about testing, there's two primary factors. The first is, what's my capacity to change? Because if I do all the testing in the world and all the data is very overwhelming to me and I don't make any changes, then all I've done is accumulate fancy fridge art, right?
Yeah.
And so that's very important. So if somebody knows, hey, I haven't been walking every day, and I know I should be walking every day. Well, I don't care what your blood values tell you, and I don't care what your genome tells you, and I don't care how many different macrophages you have in your microbiome. You should probably start learning to walk every day. That's very important, right? I don't mean to make it sound too easy, but that's extremely important. And we often overcomplicate health from a testing perspective because of this reason. So I need to understand my capacity to change. Are there things I know I need to be doing that I'm not doing? And we need to dive into that. We need to understand that. We need to get whatever social support systems required on the fronts that I already know I need to change, right? And I think this is very important before testing, because we can overcomplicate things very rapidly if there's already things we know we need to be doing and we're not. But then from a testing perspective, I'd say the most high level and powerful thing that people can do is get a good nutrition genome readout for themselves. And there's a couple companies that do that decently. It's not an exact science. There's nobody in the world that, despite the claims, there's nobody in the world that can take your genome and say, here's what you need to eat for the rest of your life, right? But it can tell you important things. Like, for instance, I have a variation in my MTHFR gene, which I'll tell you the complicated part and then simplify it. That means that my body does not convert folic acid to methylfolate very well. Methylfolate is the metabolic version of folic acid, but many food products have been fortified with folic acid. And there's a small percentage of the population like me who aren't very good at converting folic acid to methylfolate. What that means is if I consume a bunch of fortified foods, that folic acid will build up in my system over time and show up as an immune response. It could give me migraines. I could have low energy. I could have muscle pain and spasms. There could be all kinds of things that happen as a result of that. It's not going to kill me, but it's going to make me feel terrible, right? And so knowing that about myself, I get my folate from other sources. I'm careful to read labels that for foods that have been fortified with folic acid. And that has made a significant difference in the way I feel on a regular basis and how I recover from training. And so I highly recommend that if somebody's interested in kind of a first step forward in taking care of themselves and learning how to feed themselves or move themselves well, genetic testing is a very useful thing. And that's something that we guide people through in our everyday SPY individual coaching.
No, a fantastic point. I mean, because a lot of people do get bogged down in the science. They'll read 90 different sources and then think, I have no idea where to even start. But you made a great point there about, like, just get up and walk. Just start eating a bit better. You just get into that habit of moving and exercising, and at least build in that part. But I think that's the sort of another part of this whole thing, that a lot of people think, I'm going to go and I'm going to lose 60 pounds. I'm going to get washboard abs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And the last time they got off the couch was to run for a bus. You know, there's no kind of, they haven't really built up the habit to make it something that they can build into part of their life. What habits do you notice with these sort of top performers, or the people who do make these everlasting changes? You know, the resilience, the consistency, the just getting them into making fitness part of a well-regulated lifestyle for them?
Yeah, it's such an important question. So imagine you have a high performer. This is somebody who has already made fitness a part of their life. They see their food differently than the general population, right? And then you have somebody who's in that place that you, like, last time I got off the couch, I was trying to catch the bus. That was right. And when this person looks at the high performer, they go, oh, I'd love to be like that. But they can't even imagine what a day in the life looks like. And to try to emulate that learning curve is too intense. There's no way you're not going to make it. You don't have enough cognitive capacity and willpower to act like a high performer when you're not one. And that's the rub, is understanding, okay, growth is exponential, but it starts with tiny, tiny incremental steps. And the more you make those steps, the faster you grow. So I'll give you an example. I'm a person who hasn't gotten off the couch, and I'm looking at a high performer and go, man, I'd really like to be like that when I grow up, whatever that looks like for you, right? And so step one, I need to exercise 5 days a week. Let's say that's the habit that I understand is important, right? Well, my first workout is not going to be the 90-minute workout this guy's doing. And if it is, I'm going to get injured or discouraged or
never come
confused. I'm never going to come back, right? I'm never going to come back, right? So I believe it's important to have some humility in this process and say, hey, I need to build the habit of exercising. It doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't even matter. It just matters that I do it consistently. And that's something we learn in the exercise science. Consistency of exercise matters more than volume, which is how long we do it, how many reps, how many sets, and matters more than intensity. So like if I had to make a chart, it'd be consistency greater than volume greater than intensity. But in our world, we have that flipped around. Most people see exercise as, oh, I got to go intense. I got to go lift heavy weights. I got to go run as fast as I can until I'm sweating. I got to go, if I'm not breathing hard, I'm not doing anything, right? Well, they'll do that once in a month because it sucks, especially if you're not conditioned, right? And then we sacrifice what matters most, consistency, for intensity. And so what I would say to that person who's starting there is understand an elite operator is operating at a place that you probably could get for you, whatever that looks like for you, if you slowly, incrementally, consistently added habits to your life that brought you closer and closer to what the day in the life of a high-level operator looks like. And yes, biologically you have some limitations. You might have some injury history or health issues that you're wrestling with, and obviously it's incumbent on you to make the most of that. But don't start by trying to do everything that person's doing. Start by breaking down the habits that matter and building them with humility.
Fantastic answer. I mean, because that is something that we do nowadays. Is we look at social media and we see like The Rock, Henry Cavill, all these sorts of people doing working out, but they have their own private gym, their private chef, they have a certain amount of time to train, etc. They have the requirements and the kind of outside pressure that makes them train in certain ways. They have to train for a movie, they have to be ready, etc. How can we then look at these people? Maybe if you mention some great examples or people, how to find somebody that inspires you, but how do we then start reverse engineering from the habits of these people to then start implementing them in our own lives? Is there a way to say that'll work for me? That's good. That's like, how do we start pinching from the elite to start going up our own ladder?
That's a fair question, and there's kind of two. I'm going to speak about it from two perspectives. I'll speak about it from the, like, if you have somebody that you admire and you're like, I want to be like that person when I grow up, then great. Learn everything you can about what they do, how they say things, what their life looks like. It was actually Jesus who said, "You will know them by their fruits." There's a lot of people who will talk a lot about how life works and what to do and how to make $1 million in 10 minutes or whatever else, how to get 6-pack abs in 6 weeks, right? And
yes.
And it's all over the place, but you'll know them by their fruits. What kind of life do you want? Do you want to be married? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to be present for those things? Do you want to build a bunch of wealth for yourself? Well, what are you going to do with that? Do you want a business that requires 70 hours a week from you? Like, get a full picture of these people that you admire. And then when you have found a person like that, you're a very blessed person to have a picture in your mind of what you want to strive for. Then learn and understand what their habits are. It's not an easy thing. You'd have to research, I don't know, at least 100 hours to understand somebody's life well enough to start emulating those things, but it sure beats the 10,000 hours you're going to have to figure it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's called mastery. It takes a long time to learn how to do all this stuff from scratch, right? But so that's the big picture perspective, and like we live in a world of we're so content heavy these days. You can hear a 3-hour interview with The Rock if you want to. It exists, like you can hear a 3-hour interview with the gal who won Olympic gold medals. You can like Bear Grylls is one of the guys that I admired. I don't know if you know Bear Grylls. He's a survivalist, British Special Forces. Thought he was a fantastic guy. He's got, I don't know, hundreds of hours of televised interviews with individuals and time spent in the wilderness and stuff. So if you care to research people, you can, and you can learn about the things that made a difference for them. On the flip side, when you look at your life, you can actually spend some time visualizing the things that matter to you, and breaking things down to the places that you understand are worth moving forward for you. I'll give you an example. Every single client that I ever work with, we walk through this process for the year. We say, first, if I did everything right, whatever that means to you, you define it. I don't care what it is. If I did everything right, where am I next year? What's that look like? Like, what's the best case scenario for me? What kind of health am I in? What kind of pain am I in? How energetic do I feel? What am I capable of doing that I can't do now? Right? Because a year is far enough that I can make a difference, but not so far that it's unimaginable.
Yeah.
What if I did everything right? What's that look like? And that gives us something to strive for. Helps me as a coach to understand what matters to you. Also helps you as an individual to start picturing, and the more vivid the better, start picturing what it is that you actually you care to work for. And then we got to do the flip side, and this is really painful. This is psychologically powerful. If I did everything wrong, what's the worst that can happen a year from now?
This.
Right? Yeah, he says this. I doubt it. but if I did everything wrong, if I let all my bad habits get the better of me, if I ate all the garbage I could possibly eat but tastes very good, if not only did I not exercise, I did injurious things to myself. Whatever. I didn't sleep well. I drank too much caffeine and alcohol. I did, just keep piling on all the bad stuff, and then picture what a year from now looks like. What does that look like for you? And then what you've essentially created is the most powerful construct for personal motivation, which is, what am I running toward and what am I running from? And for many individuals, that's necessary. Humans are actually more motivated by avoiding pain than they are from seeking reward. And you might not believe that until you have back pain one day. And then you're like, anything I can do to get out of this pain, or a tooth. Ever had a tooth infection? Like,
oh yes.
What can I do to get away from this pain? Right? And pain is very motivating. And so if you can understand, what you'll lose if you don't make progress, that's visualizing where you'd like to be a year from now. And if you can understand the pain you're headed for, what's worth running from, then those two things can be extremely powerful. And from there, you ask yourself, what's my 1%? If I can get 1% better every day, what's my 1%? What's the thing that right now I have control over, I can make a difference in? It's not too hard for me, it's not too big for me, but I'm willing to do that thing, whatever it is. It might be something I need to stop doing, might be something I need to start doing. What's my 1%? And then finally, the question is, who's in my corner? Because I know where I want to be, I know where I don't want to be, I know what I need to do, and I might need somebody to either help me along that path or call me out when I'm not doing what I said I wanted to. And that's really the whole package. There's a few other pieces in there, but whether you're looking at somebody you admire and working to emulate them, or looking at your own life and working to make the most out of what you've been given, the end result, the end answer is taking one small step in the direction of where you know you want to go, and then humbly working toward that.
I love the way you break it down, and you kind of fill in the gaps of where people might, the pitfalls or where people might go wrong. But where do you
Hmm.
see people burning out? Because even though, if we have people who are supportive of us, we know where we want to go roughly, we start putting in new hobbies and habits, etc. Like going to jujitsu or going to the gym for a certain class just to get exercising or whatever it is to build that aspect in your life. But where do you find people are burning out? Why? How can we remove the ego that thinks, oh, getting laughed at because I'm overweight? I can't go to the gym anymore, or they tweak their back because they try to lift heavier than the guy beside them and end up not coming back to the gym after the injury. Where where does
Hmm.
men go wrong by our self-esteem, our lack of confidence, our jealousy, all the habits that are holding us back that you notice the elites have managed to eliminate?
Yeah, it's there's really three things. The first is the learning curve. The learning curve is, well, it sucks. I call it the noob phase. Do you like playing video games? Have you ever played any video games?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
football
Okay. I
management,
like video
etc.
games. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I like video games. And in video games, it's kind of nice because learning curves are very condensed, unless it's a very complicated game. So, but there's something called the noob phase, NOOB, meaning I'm new to this game, so I'm terrible at it. Right? And so the noob phase is rough because when you play the game, whatever game it is, you get shot 5,000 times. You're running around pointing your gun at the ceiling, and you don't know how to maneuver. It might be a less violent game. I don't know. Maybe you're playing Mario and you just keep falling in the hole and dying over and over again. Right? The game's not fun in the noob phase, and so that's actually something people have to get over in health and fitness when they first start moving in this direction for themselves, because you're not going to be great at it. You're going to come up against all sorts of obstacles that make you think you don't know what you're doing and that you're terrible and it's not for you. And fine. Like, like acknowledge the pain right now and do not give up. That's the noob phase, because the only way through the noob phase is grit. The only way through the noob phase is to just keep coming back to it every day until you're not a noob anymore. And that's a big deal because, like you said about the guy tweaking his back doing a deadlift, that's a that's a that's a noob obstacle. You knew you shouldn't have gone up that much in weight, but you did anyway. And 3 reps in, ow, it hurts. And you're like, ah. And you have a choice. Does this mean no more weight training for you, or does this mean, hey, I'm going to take good care of my back? I'm going to come back to the weights, and I'm going to be a little more humble about how quickly I progress next time. Maybe I'll even ask for some coaching so that my form is good and my mind's not wandering while I'm lifting, right? So all this stuff, right? But that's the noob phase. So people
Yeah.
get burnt out in the noob phase very frequently. For the average person, that happens at about week 2 or 3 in their fitness journey. Is usually when stuff like that happens. It could happen at other times, but the noob phase is a big burnout. I can keep talking, but do you have a comment about that?
No, no, I was just
Awesome.
I was really enjoying it because I was thinking of like the in a video game, as you progress, the map opens up, and that's the part I really enjoy. Is that
Yes,
how do you make that encourage it for people?
it's exactly what you just said. The noob phase is hard because you're not great at it yet, but the noob phase is also very exciting because you're constantly opening up new avenues,
Hmm.
right? Which is not true of somebody who's been playing a game or in health and fitness for themselves for a long time, right? So as an example, if I started weight training to gain muscle and you started weight training to gain muscle, as long as you didn't do anything to injure yourself, if you haven't been weight training much, you're going to gain way more muscle in 8 weeks than I am. Why? It's the noob phase. Your body's like, oh my gosh, he's lifting weights. Put on as much muscle as possible. My body's like, this guy's been doing this for like 20 years. Like, what? what more muscle can we put on? I'm going to have to work really hard over 8 weeks to gain just a couple of pounds of muscle. Whereas a noob can start learning new exercises, and a noob can start lifting heavier weights relatively quickly. A noob can start seeing changes in their body, like, wow, there's a muscle I didn't know I had. Look at that. And so it can be very exciting if you're willing to stick with the pitfalls of those obstacles. And so for my part as a coach, it's helping people to see their progress. When they come up against an obstacle in one avenue, it's helping them see, hey, but look how much the world's opened up to you in these ways, right? And that's a difficult part of the noob phase for sure, but it's there. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got the other way people can burn out is reaching the top. It's a completely different problem. I've run the fastest mile I can run. I've lifted the heaviest weight I can run. I've been 10% body fat for 3 years, whatever it is. What's next? Where do I go from here? And that's something that can burn people out too, because the joy of setting a goal and working toward a goal is actually much higher than reaching the goal. If you actually measure somebody's serotonin, how good you feel about something, it's not very high when you get the medal. It's way higher in the training process of visualizing getting the medal. Same thing with the dopamine, right? So once you reach the top, once you have run the event, once you have done the mission, once you have lost the weight or whatever it is, once you reach that pinnacle, that can be really difficult. And that's where that exercise that I just told you about comes in, where it's really important. You have to revisualize what the coming year looks like and what's worth running from, what's worth running toward, who's in your corner, what's the next step. And in the health and fitness world, oftentimes we focus so much on the achievement of the goal, we don't look at this as a lifelong thing. You're going to have your body your whole life. So this is a lifelong process that you get to go through and get to make the most out of you.
It's time for a quick break. There are millions of potential products to buy, so how do you know which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Simple. You go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and explore those that will transform and improve your life. You'll find deals, listener exclusives, and special offers with some great companies. Recommendations are 100% honest and only on items Ian has tried or believes in. The companies showcased will make you a better man in all areas of your life. Simply go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and level up.
Do you think that's the thing that a lot of men are scared of? It's either being afraid to look like a beginner, but then on the flip side, it's also scared not to have a mission, not to have a focus, or that's why we leave jobs because we don't have anything new to learn. We don't like being seated. We don't like not progressing or having a challenge. We can't just sit still, a lot of men.
Men are an interesting case. I think it actually has a lot more to do with honesty. So that being said, if I'm honest as a man, let's say I look at my life and I'm not satisfied. That's hard. That's a painful realization. Yep. What are you not satisfied with? I'm not satisfied with what I see when I look in the mirror. I'm not satisfied with my job. I'm not satisfied with my partner. I'm not satisfied with how I spend my days, whatever. If men get really honest with themselves about what's bothering them, I mean, get ready. Get ready for some real pain. Get ready for some real emotional turmoil. Because if men are honest about where they're at, it's going to be a difficult process. It's going to be a difficult mental, emotional process. I think that's the primary thing that keeps men from moving forward, is to be honest with themselves. And then step 2, honest with somebody else, so that you're not the only person who's thinking through all this stuff that you're not satisfied with, because that can be overwhelming. It's extremely overwhelming when you realize you're in a place that you want to change, but you don't know how to do it. And it's also extremely overwhelming to notice that maybe I do know how to do it, but I don't know how I'm going to start. And those are very difficult things. So I think honesty with self and honesty with somebody who's worth trusting with that, I think that's what primarily keeps men from moving forward. I've found that very few men I know are actually scared. Once they're honest about being scared, it's not that hard to be not scared anymore, or at least to act in the face of, what was it, courage? Courage is not being scared. Courage is acting in the face of fear anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Is that something that you notice with a lot of guys? It's that kind of we're actually afraid to admit we need help. That a lot of guys, even there's all this acres of information out there. There's amazing podcasts. There's great coaches like yourself, but they just go to the gym and try work out to look like the guy sitting next to them. They don't understand about sport-specific workouts, physical preparedness, like just a general breakdown of the different styles of workout, of building your ligaments, your joints, making yourself your body physically prepared to work out. How complicated do we need to get into this as we go through the various stages towards mastery, towards elite status?
It gets more complicated the further up the ladder you go. For somebody who's just beginning on that journey, it's not that complicated. You got to get conditioned. Getting conditioned is stop eating too much energy, eat more nutrients, move more. Like, it really is that simple. Like those things are, and you might have some injuries that have accumulated. You might have to rehabilitate, or you might have some obstacles in the way your body functions. Maybe you have shoulder pain or knee pain or something like that might complicate that process, right? But the end necessity goal for you to go from beginner, it's about the same answer for everybody. The further you go through fitness, the more complicated it gets. The further you go up the ladder, the adaptations of exercise, the adaptations of nutrition, the adaptations of rest and recovery, those adaptations can get more and more specific based on the stimulus or stressor. So as an example, if I said, hey, you're a beginner and I've been training for a long time, your back workout today can be 2 exercises. We're going to do a lat pull down for 3 sets of 10, and we're going to do a cable row for 3 sets of 10.
I remember those days.
Right, yeah. How much weight, Alex? I don't care. If it feels kind of difficult, you're great. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, just do it, right? And that's the back workout. But if you're an elite, like, and you're taxing the muscles of the back so that your posture stays firm, maybe you're trying to keep muscles healthy and highly operating for whatever specific thing you're training for, you might have 8 different exercises you need to do, and 2 of them have to be together, and you only have 30 seconds of rest between these 2. And this set is about being heavy, and this set is about being explosive, right? And at the end of the workout, you're doing things to tax the muscle in the eccentric phase. And everything I just said to a beginner sounds too much, because it is. There's no reason that has to be that differentiated for somebody who's just starting to lift weights, right? So the further you go up the ladder, the more complicated things get. And I wouldn't say that men are afraid to ask for help in that sense because they don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. I think that men in general feel as though they should already have it figured out. And so asking for help is somehow weak rather than independent. And nothing could be further from the truth. Like, human beings are not very independent. We're built on the inside, neurologically speaking. We're built on the inside to be cohesive with each other. And there's an element of me needing, having a responsibility to carry my own burdens well. But I'm not going to be able to do do that without somebody else's help. And so that said, when a man comes to me and says, they usually say, I've tried everything and I heard what you had to say and it made a lot of sense. So I'm asking for help. I don't like doing that, but I'm doing that. Like, where can we go from here? It's almost like they've taken this big giant load off their shoulders and handed it to me. And they're very happy to do so, because holy crap, this was heavier than I thought. And well, I have a lot of compassion for that, because I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a business owner. I've wrestled with my own obstacles and disease and all sorts of things. And I understand that it's been individuals in my life who've helped me to overcome those things that allows me to help other people.
Great answer. I mean, because I'm a big fan, like, of the Kaizen approach, the 1% better every day. And I think that's something that we think, if we don't go and do a perfect workout, it's a day wasted, and sometimes it can be just difficult enough to get in the gym. It can be difficult enough to go for a walk if people with depression, etc. And I think that sometimes is what a lot of guys struggle with, is they'll write to me and say, I can't change. I've tried. And you think, well, have you done X? No. Have you tried jiu-jitsu? No. Have you tried? And, they've just gone in once, failed. That's it. They think that means that's their story. They can't change. So what is 1% better? Because, you talked earlier about the 1% getting better. If we are been working out, or we've had the history and got through the newbie gains, etc., what is the effort, or what's the thing we need to do to eke out those 1% changes? And what is 1% better look like on a day where everything's going wrong? Your daughter's sick, you haven't eaten correctly, work's been a nightmare, etc., etc. How can we find that in the dark places when we need to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, if you're past the noob stuff, the 1% better usually looks like the things you're scared of. So for instance, I recently wrote and published a book. Before I wrote and published a book, I would tell you I was not a writer. I had started many books, but I'd never finished one. And I have all kinds of reasons. I'm a dad with 2 kids. I run my own business. I manage a chronic illness. I like being married. So. Right. Yeah. I got to sleep sometime. Right. Yeah. And so there's a lot of these things in my life that say a book is a bad idea. I don't have time for that. Right. Mm-hmm. But in my heart, I knew I wanted to. I knew there was something I needed to say, something I wanted to work through, something I hoped to help other people when they read it. And so I, like, this thing bounced around in me for probably 3 years. And frankly, I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't being honest that this really mattered to me. And I remember having a conversation with my wife where I was angry about something. And I was like, I don't understand why I can spend my time and energy doing this, but I won't write my damn book. Right. And she was like, well, how can I help? So can you watch the kids on Thursday? Like, can you do that for me? And she did. And I went and I started writing my book. Well, the thing about a book is you don't write it in a day. It takes time, takes energy, takes focus, takes consistency. Kind of like the exercise. If only you could do it in a day. Yeah. If only, right? Man. And so what I did is after I sat and I spent time writing, and a lot of the things that needed to come out of me so that I could see what the book looked like came out. It took about 8 hours. I came home and I showed my wife and I said, this is going to take like every Thursday until it's done. Can we do that? Like, is it possible? I really feel like I need your help with this, right? Remember that support aspect. This is a big time investment, lots of energy, right? Something I'm asking for help with. But she's like, okay. And so for me, I guarded that time like a junkyard dog. I missed out on some time with my family. I have 2 boys. My boys ran my wife ragged on Thursdays, but we did our best and we blocked that off. And because of all that investment of energy and time, you better believe at 7 a.m, when I sat down to write, I wrote. It didn't matter if I had a headache. It didn't matter who wanted my attention. My phone was off. It didn't matter what else was going on. Because I had committed to that thing that was scary to me. But I had everything in my life orchestrated to make sure that happened, and it was something I knew I needed to do for my 1%. Then week over week, I did it. And I think I only missed 2 Thursdays in a period of 6 months, and one was Christmas, if I remember right. So, like, it was justified. Yeah, let me off on Christmas, right? And the other one, I had a family member in the hospital, and so I went and visited them because that was a priority. And that's how the 1% works, right? When I understand that the things in my life that I want to make progress on are aligned with my ultimate purposes, being a father, being a husband, my business that I'm running that helps people, like these things really matter to me. They're part of my mission, part of my journey. Then your 1% is the stuff that makes you better at all those things at once. And it's not easy, and it's kind of scary, and it's going to take some sacrifices, but it's 100% worthwhile. And so what I would say, kind of to your original question, is once you're past the noob phase, your 1% will scare you a bit. It's the thing that you want to say you've done, or want to say you've moved toward, or you see as valuable and useful. But man, you have no idea how it's going to go, and you're probably not going to be any good at it, right? All those things come together, and the way that you keep yourself accountable to that is don't do it alone, and put your money where your mouth is. Put an investment in that thing. You might need to spend some money. You might need to spend some time. You might need to sacrifice some energy in other places in your life to pursue that thing. But it's worthwhile and good to do so. And you won't find yourself lacking motivation. It's just more like feeling like there's not quite enough of you. And that requires you to be humble week over week, for sure.
I love this because it's not just how you can break things down, it's how inspirational you are about change and the passion, the warmth that comes from you as well. But I mean, you unfortunately you have Ehlers-Danlos disease.
Ehlers-Danlos, yep.
And you, despite that, you do everything that you want. You achieve so much. You help so many people transform. But what did that help you? Because you were talking there just now about, embracing pain and using it to kind of change and finding that thing that scares you. Because they always say the priority should be the thing that scares you most on your list to make the biggest impact in your day. What did having a condition like that you have to endure, but also work around, set up your life in a certain way to deal with your own health, but to to get your missions accomplished? What has that taught you about strength, about elite performance, about how we can get the most from life, no matter whatever's affecting us at that point?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It would be impossible to talk about this without, for me, without looping in faith and the journey that I've been on. And whatever you believe or whatever your listeners believe, these questions become very spiritual questions very quickly, because at the root of it, if I had to rephrase your question, is what do you do with the things that are painful?
Yeah.
and that's acknowledging that life is painful, right? That's acknowledging that life is painful. And so from a spiritual perspective, there's this belief in Christianity that you have to face suffering. There's no way around it, right? So Jesus, he dies on a cross for the sins of the world. That's how the story goes, right? And not only does he die on the cross, he doesn't stay dead. But that's not the end of the story. In fact, what he actually tells his followers is, if any man wishes to be my disciple, he will deny himself, pick up his own cross, and follow me, which is a very amazing statement. What he's saying is, if you want to follow me, if you want to walk in my way, if you want to do what I've taught, if you want to be one of my guys, so to speak, then you're going to deny yourself. That's to say, all the things that I want, all the things that keep me comfortable, all the things that I think I need, deny yourself. You're saying, nope, I don't need those things. I don't want those things. I don't want to stay comfortable. I push those aside for the moment. Pick up my cross. That's a very powerful image, because what's the cross? The cross is, like, in the Roman times, that's the place of suffering. That's where you go to die.
Yeah.
That's where you go to hang until you lose your breath, right? Pick up your cross and follow me. Well, where is Christ going when he says this? He's literally going to go die. That's what he's going to do. And so if I had to interpret that in more of a secular fashion, I would say something like, the suffering that is a part of your life is the answer to going where is most meaningful. Facing the suffering forthrightly, carrying the cross in a forthright way. It's not an easy thing, and it will require that you deny the things that sound nice, pleasant, comfortable, fun even sometimes. But that is the thing that's most meaningful, and is the way, as Jesus said, that leads to life. Now, there's no way in my brain to separate that from the spiritual language that I had to use to describe it. But if I had to tell my own story, what I would say is, I have Ehlers-Danlos. My body is in pain regularly. My tendons and ligaments don't function like they're supposed to, like the average person's tendons and ligaments do. My digestive tract doesn't always function the way it's supposed to. And when I went for a run today, when I started to run, it hurt. I didn't want to run. It wasn't like, oh, yay, what a beautiful day. Let's go for a run. My
Does
ankles were in
anybody
pain.
ever want to run?
I know, right? Yeah, dude, there's something about that first 5 minutes, right? It doesn't matter if you have a disease or not. If you can get past that first 5 minutes, you're already in. You can't escape. But so I go to run. This is important to me. It's important for my cardiovascular system. It's important for my mental health. It's important for my body's ability to burn fat as a fuel source. It's very important that I go for my run. But it doesn't feel good, right? And it feels doubly bad in my body. Not injurious. I'm not tearing ligaments to run, but it hurts to strengthen them. It hurts to do that. And so what do? I say I'm going to run, and then I go do it. And in the run, the tendons and ligaments start to loosen up a little bit. My muscles get the activity they need to stabilize my joints. My cardiovascular system gets put through its paces. I have a lower risk of heart disease at the end of my run than I did at the beginning of my run. I burn fat well as a fuel source. And hey, when I finish, if I stuck with it, when I finish, I'm in actually way better mood, mental space. I might still be in a little bit of pain, but the pain that I faced was the way that I improve. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Because I think that's the thing, is we all want to do things, but when we actually face the burden from it, you realize what your true wants, your true desires are at that point. So when you are struggling, or you're shaking, you're in pain, or you see somebody like a client kind of, I don't know about that, you can see the eyes going down, or the motivation drops, or whatever their kind of outlet of panic or unmotivation or whatever it is. How do you get them to find that inner, their faith, their pain point that they can focus on to come through? How do you inspire somebody like that?
It's a great question. It has a lot to do. This is actually something I talk about in my book. It has a lot to do with what you're fighting for and who you're fighting for. And this is something that elite operators know, right? So if I'm a Navy SEAL and my comrade is injured in combat, my personal instinct is get the hell out of here so I don't die. But that's not correct. That's not what my training has taught me. That's not why I'm on this mission. It's not the kind of shape I'm in. What I do is I pick up my brother, I put him on my shoulder, and either we're getting out together or we're dying together. That's how this is going to go, right? And that is, I know what I'm fighting for, and I know who I'm fighting for. If I know those two things, I will endure just about anything. And that's true of humans. If I know what I'm fighting for, and if I know who I'm fighting for, bring on the pain, man, because you're not going to keep me from fighting those two things. So I was working with a lady just yesterday. She and I have worked together for a year. She's in her late 60s. When she and I first started, she was in a very, very terrible place, cardiovascularly speaking. Her doctor told her she was on the edge of a heart attack. And so when we first started working together, she was 312 pounds. It hurt her to walk 40 yards down the average driveway here in the US. It hurt her to walk 40 yards. So when we started working together, she had to understand what she was fighting for. Why do this at all? Because you could just sit in a recliner and be comfortable till you die. Yeah. You could. Like that's an option. What's worth fighting for? And then who are you fighting for? Who when you think, okay, why would I endure any of this? Why would I improve? Why would I try to make more of myself? Why would I get healthy? Like, who in my life does that matter to? And when you identify those two things, then like, hey, this hurts. I'm out of breath. I don't want to continue. And I can say, well, your grandkid keeps getting bigger and we're not done yet. Just a little further. Keep breathing. We're almost there, right? The knowledge of understanding, this is what I'm fighting for. This is who I'm fighting for. When you bring your mind to those things, when things are difficult, you'll do what you need to do. And it won't feel that painful, regardless of how painful it actually is.
And is that like a key part of an elite performer, do you think, that we should all utilize, is having, like, say, the Navy SEALs be doing it to protect their country, whereas somebody like, you're saying, like an overweight person might be doing it just to be able to pick up their grandkid, or to be able to walk without sticks, or whatever it is. Is that how we can ensure that we focus on working out for 10 years rather than 10 minutes? We keep going day in, day out. We find something that we can hold on to in that dark times.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, when we were talking about being honest, how it's difficult for men to be honest. If you ask a man, what is your fitness goal? He might be like, oh, I got to work on this. I got to lose 10 pounds. I gotta get off my heart medication, whatever. That's not honest. Like that's the smallest grain of truth in the thing he's wanting to accomplish. But if a man says, I don't feel attractive to my wife anymore, or I don't feel equipped to manage my business, and like my mind's all fuzzy and I'm tired all the time. I don't feel like my children want to hang out with me. I don't like getting off the couch. Like, these are the things that are honest, right? When a man's honest like that, then he understands, coming back to the pain question, the pain he's already in. And when the pain of staying the same hurts worse than the pain of change, then you'll change.
Yeah.
But if you're not honest, you don't feel that pain of staying the same, then you won't budge. And so that's why this understanding of what's worth fighting for, who's worth fighting for. We feel the pain of understanding what happens when we don't fight those battles. And so that's extremely important, when a man can be honest about what pain he's in right now. Not try to cover it up. No sunshine, rainbows, no flowers and daisies. Just the real stuff. When he can be honest and feel that the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain it's going to take to change. Then when a man understands that, then he'll actually move forward.
I can see why you're so successful. I knew you were going to be good, but you just motivate regardless. there's something about how you present it that you just, I don't know, we get wrapped up, we it embraces it, and it honestly feels like 10 minutes, and we've been talking for over an hour, and I haven't got into like half of the stuff I want to cover. So we've got to do a round two at some point. But what do you think then? Like, if you have somebody listening just now, how would you want them to come to you as a kind of to become an elite performer? If they came back to you in a month, what would you say to them? I want to have done X, Y, Z. I want you to have focused on this or have that as your target. How can they start this journey?
I will bring you back to the exercise that I just revealed that I do with all my clients. And I would ask your listener to do this. If this is you and you want to make some progress forward, you got to do it. You got to say, where am I right now? And if I did everything right, where would I be a year from now? Question 2, like pause the podcast, write it down. The more detailed, the better. Question 2, if I do everything wrong, where will I be a year from now? And if you don't cry, you're not doing it right. I know that sounds dumb, but it's true. Like if you can't paint a picture enough in your mind that's painful enough to bring tears, you're gonna need to work at that. You might need to go fast in the woods for like a day or 2 or 3 before you get down to the core of who you are and what matters to you. But those 2 things, and then you say, okay, who's in my corner? Be honest. If you got nobody in your corner, be honest. You got to fix it. You can't do this without somebody in your corner. You're not going to do this without a coach. What a coach actually is somebody who can correct you without causing resentment. That's what a coach is. If you have people in your life who are like, hey, you're doing it wrong, do this, and you hate them, they're not coaching you. You're like, that's a jerk. You don't like jerks. You need a coach. But similarly, somebody who's celebrating you. Far too many men don't have somebody in their corner celebrating their wins and accomplishments and encouraging their way forward, wanting to see the best in them, right? So that's that. And then finally is that 1%. So we know where we're going. We know what we're running from. We know who's got our back. And we know what we actually need to do tomorrow, today, and to do consistently. And if you do those 4 things, if you can hash those out and actually move forward, and then in a month, you've gotten somewhere. It'd be really cool to do that. And if in a month you haven't gotten somewhere, then you didn't address point 3. You still have nobody in your corner because a good coach won't let you do that. A good coach will kick you in the butt and say, hey, what the heck, man? This is not what we said we're going to do. We need to change this 1% because you're being too ambitious and you didn't get it done, right? And so that's what I would say.
All of that, because I think, what was it they say that a man only gets the first flowers they'll ever get is at their funeral. The only kind words they'll ever hear is at the eulogy at their funeral. And it's scary that a lot of guys do not have somebody, and that's why I'm so glad that there is coaches like you. There's programs, there's things we can find and listen to podcasts like this where we can listen to your explanations and kind of start making that change in their lives, that they maybe have been in abusive situations, they've had maybe not supportive parents. And I think this is why I love speaking to people like yourselves, because people can't help but change listening to your great advice. So what point do we look and go, that's us changing, this is the time to pivot, this is the time to change? Is it down to the coach? Or what kind of data are we measuring? Are we looking for feedback emotionally? Are we looking physically? How do we know we're doing well on this journey?
It's really, it comes back to those first 2 questions. Am I closer to where I said I wanted to be? And closer might be different for you. Like if you said, hey, if I did everything right a year from now, I look in the mirror and I think, hey, that guy's in great shape. Then you might want to be measuring body composition. That would be a good understanding. I'm losing fat mass. I'm gaining muscle mass. My midsection's getting smaller. My clothes are fitting better, right? That would give me feedback. Or I want to be able to play more often with my kids, right? How do I know that I'm actually moving forward in that process or journey? Well, I've got a scheduled date with my son on Thursday to play soccer, right? Right. That's how I know I'm moving forward, and I can play soccer, and I'm not out of breath while we do it. Like that means I'm moving forward. And similarly, am I further away from that thing I'm running from? Right? For me, hell at one point in time looked like I'm on 12 different medications, I'm hooked on pain pills, and I can't get off the couch to play with my child. Like that was the hell I was running from, between mental illness in my family, between the genetic disorder I wrestle with, between the pain I was in. Like I saw where I was headed and I didn't want to be there. Right. And so am I further from that? Am I in less pain? Am I out and about? I don't even care if I'm happy about it. At least I'm not on the stupid couch, right? Am I off the medications? Like, am I moving in that direction? And so that really is understanding where you want to go and what you're leaving. You can have some measures that help you understand if you're moving forward. And again, a good coach can help you do that. A good coach can say, these are the measures we're going to be looking at to see if we're making progress. And if we're not, something needs to change. Something needs to change about our approach.
So is that the definition of elite performance for each of us, is finding that point that we've gone to, where we've gone through our own hell to the point of where we want to be?
You got it. That's exactly right. And that's why I'm an exercise scientist and a faith-based health coach. Exercise science teaches us how to get the most out of ourselves. But faith teaches us why we care. Faith is the thing that tells us why we're even doing any of this stuff, right? So yes, that's exactly right.
Beautifully put. I mean, I know we're tight for time, but we've got to do a round two at some point soon. But for those listening, what would you want people to remember about change, transformation, pain points, just, that they're not stuck of where they are now? But how would you want people to use this conversation going forward to start changing their lives?
First, I want to say you're a great interviewer, and I'm totally down for a round two. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you. And also, you mentioned the whole guys don't get flowers things. You have been very encouraging this entire episode, so thank you for that.
Right.
That said, to the listener who's made it to this point in the podcast, because our society has very short attention spans. But if you've been listening for this whole podcast, I need you to stop everything you're doing for just a second, because something happened in your brain and something happened in your heart while you were listening. It might have been something I said, it might have been something my brother said, but you pictured a better version of you. You did. And so if that picture came out for you and you can stop what you're doing for a second, I need you to write it down. I need you to write what you saw. Actually, you need to make it concrete, make it something you can see, make it something you can read, something you can feel. Write it down what you saw. You saw yourself being more active. You saw yourself eating less donuts. You saw yourself going to bed a little earlier. You saw yourself playing less crappy video games. I don't know. Whatever you saw, you saw yourself having an argument with your spouse that just needs to happen, even though you haven't been honest in the past, but it needs to happen now. Whatever it is, write it down. Because once you write it down, once you make it concrete, once you take it from here and put it out there, you're way more likely to start making a shift. And that would be what I would encourage. If you could take that away, if you can take something that was inside of you from this podcast and put it outside of you, it's kind of like drawing a line in the sand.
Damn, that is hard hitting. Because I could actually find myself doing that in a few of your answers. I was stopping and actually applying it in my head, going, oh, I meant to ask another question. And I was like, oh, I think you've got this way of just opening that, removing that obstacle and actually sort of going as a friend, not as a coach, but just kind of pulling it out of us and getting us to start that transformation, to sow the seeds of change. How can we follow you, until we can do a round two? And because there's so many rabbit holes I was trying to avoid going down, but
sure.
For the things, for we want to buy the book, for we want to find out more, we want to contact you and ask to train with you and all these sorts of things, how can we get in touch and follow this journey, this amazing life that you're on?
Yeah, so there's three ways. If you're more of a, hey, I just want to check out what Alex is up to, you can check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/faithfulfitnessorg, O-R-G, and you'll find interviews, you'll find conversations I've had, you'll find a library of exercises and whatnot, and that's a great place to connect. The second is hey, I'm just interested in working with you from a coaching perspective. Us at Everyday Spy, we have a portal for that. And I believe my team has sent that link to you. So we'll have that in the show notes to get connected to personal coaching. And I mean, it's fast and furious. We'll get you started. We'll get you on a call. We'll do a complete health history, and then we're moving forward. We got places to go, and so that's a very one-on-one thing. And then finally, there is an app community where individuals who are moving in this journey are congregating, and you can find that at faithfulfitness.co, and my book's there as well. So faithfulfitness.org for YouTube, faithfulfitness.co for our app and devotional, and then our Everyday Spy link for exploring personal one-on-one coaching with me.
Well, that's it for another week, and thank you for listening. It's now time to take what you've learned and use it to develop and enhance your life with the key points mentioned. Listen, try it, embrace it, use it, and crush it. Now's your time to hit that next level in your life. If you liked this episode, then please leave a comment on the show notes or a review of the show on your podcast platform. Everything helps evolve the show. Until next week, keep seeking the next level in your life.